The narrator and her friend rented a small house at a beautiful spot with extensive grassy fields around the house. It had several windows which would provide a scenic view of the place. The narrator saw her closest neighbor, a large white horse who was grazing the grass and enjoying its walk. The horse, Blue, would stroll about in the 5 acres of fenced land where he could graze and move about. The owner of the house used to live somewhere else, and Blue was reared up by the narrator's next door neighbor. Sometimes somebody could be seen riding on Blue and then pat on its flanks. The narrator and her companion started feeding apples to Blue, which he would enjoy. Blue would come and stand by the apple tree, and on seeing the narrator or her companion, would whine, breathe noisily, and produce loud sound by thumping the ground with his feet. This meant that he wanted apples. The narrator would also enjoy collecting apples and holding them before Blue. The writer in this way makes us aware of the full existence of the horse. We get to know how animals also want company and love to receive affectionate attention from those around them. In fact, the horse loomed large in the narrator's mind, and she herself felt rather small before that quote, broad-breasted enormity, unquote. She also recollected her childhood riding, how she was thrown from the horse and how she fell against the tree. She recalled that the members of her family did not consider riding safe for her. After that, she preferred walking to horse riding. The narrator did not know early how deeply horses could also feel. She found that the life of Blue was terribly lonely and boring. The narrator regretted having overlooked the fact that all living beings, including animals, could communicate with one another. Living with animals in our childhood can make us sharply aware of this, but by the time we are grown up, we tend to forget all this and usually shut out the animal world from our minds. The narrator rightly calls animals complete creations as they do not change with the passage of time. She maintained that animals communicate in their own way, but human beings ignore that. Now, however, she could understand Blue's eyes and his need of apples and for affectionate companions. The narrator also brings in the issue of racial differences prevalent in USA. She tells us how a black woman who looks after and nurses a white infant just like her child is later ignored or treated as other. Her sweat and hardships are forgotten, and she is called old mommy when these infants grow up. Even a white woman would treat her in the same manner as if she is not a fellow human being, but an inferior being. She would express her failure to understand the African Americans because their race is different. She would not even understand what the black people really wanted. For her, they are no more than objects who can move about on their own, do certain types of work when fed with instructions. She may also look upon them as ferocious and treacherous wild beasts against whom she has to keep herself constantly on guard. The narrator added that Indians were also treated like animals by those white who believed in their racial superiority. The narrator observes that those Americans who marry non English speaking women lead a joyous life initially. They, however, fail to maintain that happiness when their wives start learning English because the language makes them sharply aware of the feelings of racial superiority which were implicit in the whole mindset of their husbands but which did not come to the fore in their personal behavior earlier. In some cases, this leads to a breakdown of the marriage relationship. Before learning the same language, these people could communicate effectively within a limited range of experience and lead a blissful life. The narrator also felt annoyed on seeing older people disapproving of the tendency among their young children to play and listen to the music of the oppressed African Americans. The narrator did not know for how long Blue had been leading a secluded life in those 5 beautiful but boring acres. However, in the second year after they had occupied that house, a change took place when Blue got the companionship of Brown, a brown mare. In the beginning, Blue hesitated to go near her, but after some time he started moving about near Brown and making friendly advances towards her. They would amble or gallop together. Now, Blue won't come to the apple tree as often as he used to do earlier. He had a different look and appeared free and contented with himself. Brown had brought about this magical change in Blue. This shows how close even animals are to human beings. But a racial society did not acknowledge the claims of friendship and interdependence which the African American people could make on the whites. The narrator would feed both Blue and Brown, and a mutual understanding developed between him and the horses. This relationship was based on acknowledgement of the mutuality and equality between human beings and their fellow creatures who lived close to them. After some time, Brown became pregnant, the purpose for which she had been brought near Blue for a temporary period. One day, the narrator found Blue waiting for someone. She shook the apple tree, but Blue did not move. She then carried a few apples to Blue. Blue half crunched the one and let the others fall on the ground. When she looked into Blue's eyes, she found the expression of a person whose partner had either been auctioned like a slave or killed. She learned that Brown was brought there only for the limited purpose of being impregnated, and since the purpose had been served, she was taken back to her owner. After his separation from Brown, Blue started behaving in an abnormal manner. He would gallop furiously and whine until he was tired. He would also hit the ground with his hoofs and butted himself against the tree. He would gaze towards the road down which Brown had been taken away. He had a piercing and sad look that would compel the narrator to take pity on those people who were insensitive to the pain of animals. She thought that there were people who never thought of animals' rights but used and abused them, and they meted out a similar treatment to women who, they were taught, were there to be treated with violence and contempt like animals. They could be raped and mutilated with impunity. Such people were misguided by their elders who taught them that, quote, women can't think, unquote, and, quote, niggers can't faint, unquote. After his unforeseen and abrupt separation from Brown, Blue usually had a depressed look which was agonizing. He also seemed to be full of hatred for mankind and for life as such. This unusual look turned him into a real beast, which, as the narrator knew earlier, he was not before. Blue had really erected a barrier between himself and the human world around him in order to save himself from further violence or injustice. After that, Blue was reduced to the status merely of a beautiful object of that landscape, nice to look at. One day, a friend of the narrator saw Blue and observed that it was a symbol of freedom. It compelled the narrator to think that animals were merely images for people and not living creatures. She thought that people consumed milk, eggs, etc., but never thought about the feelings of those who produced those things. Such thoughts made the narrator feel sick, and she could not swallow the steaks which she had started eating and threw them away after the first bite, which she spat out immediately.